So a question I seem to have been getting quite a bit recently is, when is the market going to get better? And also speaking to a lot of homeowners who are holding off selling at the moment in the hope that things might look a little bit brighter next year, or maybe the year after. And maybe it will, because no one has a crystal ball, so we're definitely not here to refute any dreams that the Wellington market might turn around. But it is possible that it won't be happening quite in the time frame that we'd originally thought. So I went to a presentation put on by Trade Me recently to a bunch of real estate agents, and they had several speakers there, which was very interesting. One in particular, which I really enjoyed hearing from, Gareth Kiernan from Infometrics. They are economists, so they know a lot more about these things than most of us. And obviously you've got all the data and stats and ways of kind of looking at everything going on to determine what they think is about to happen in the short, medium and longer term future. So one of the most sobering slides that Gareth took us through was what Infometrics are predicting for capital growth in Wellington over the next 5 years.
It's looking a bit grim.
It was kind of looking like nothing. And that may or may not be true, and we won't even be able to tell until we're in 2029 doing a market update on where we've come from in the last 5 years. But I thought it was an interesting slide to look at from the perspective of all these homeowners I've been talking to who have been hoping that maybe waiting for next year, or maybe waiting for one more year, will mean that their property is worth more. It is quite possible it's going to be worth about the same, and maybe in 27 and 28 and quite possibly 2029. So the upshot of that is, I mean, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's a balanced market when we're flat. It's not a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. And it's probably just a time to maybe, get on with doing whatever your personal plans are, rather than waiting for the market to change.
Yeah, things like the level of stock and the level of competition will fluctuate, and that will cause the market to feel different. It may feel like a seller's market or feel like a buyer's market. But from what we've seen, we aren't really expecting any capital growth over those 5 years.
But on the upside, if you are looking to make a move, there is, of course, the old adage that if you buy and sell in the same market, you somewhat insulate yourself from those highs and lows.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of speak to the mentality of that, because I was actually talking to a buyer the other day who, they currently live in an apartment and they're looking to upgrade to a standalone home. But they said to me, look, the apartment has lost so much value since we bought. They bought in the peak in 2021. And they wanted to wait until the market recovered a little bit, which is something we're hearing a lot at the moment, before they went out and bought something. But what I said to them was, if you imagine that your apartment was worth, let's say, $600,000 at the very peak of the market, and let's just say, for conversation's sake, the market's come back 20% across the board, so your apartment would be worth $500,000 now. But if you're looking for $1 million home now, that home would have been worth 1.2 at the peak of the market. And if they were to wait until their home goes back up to 600,000, which for all we know could be a decade from now, then the other house that they're looking at will have gone up to 1.2 again, and they're actually losing 100 grand in that transaction, whereas they could be gaining it currently. So don't be afraid to transact in the same market, especially if you're upsizing, because there's definitely some benefits there.
So I think in conclusion, the market is predicted to be pretty flat for maybe even half a decade. And so if you have been thinking of buying or selling, you might as well get on with it, because it may not look any better or different in the next few years' time. So buying and selling in the same market is a great thing to do. And if you are starting to have to move elsewhere, and that's your plans, then don't put off your plans for the market to improve, because that could be a little while in the making.